You know, it's that special time of year. There's a slight chill in the air. The leaves are starting to turn. So you know what that means. No! Vampires! Like today's game. Vampires and villagers. So in Vampires and Villagers, The Curse of Kristoff, you're trying to get the best crypt at the end of the 4th round. Once the 4th round has happened, you score up your crypt, and whoever has the highest number is the winner of the game. So I've gone ahead and did a little bit of setup already. First thing you're going to do is you're going to start filling up the town square. You're going to put 4 villagers out and stick 4 villagers in the discard pile. Then you're going to take all of the master vampires, you're going to shuffle them up, and you're going to deal out 1 to each player. They're going to keep that into their hand. The other ones are going to go back into the box because they will not be used if you're playing less than a 4-player game. Then you're going to take the lesser vampires and all of them. You're going to shuffle up the lesser vampires, and you're going to deal out 1 to each player. Then you're going to take the lesser vampires, all of the thrall cards, and all of the vampire hunters, and you're going to shuffle those together. And then once you get those shuffled together, you're going to give 2 to each player. This just ensures that each player has a master vampire and a lesser vampire, and then 2 other random cards. Then you will take the deck you just made, and you will add in the villagers that were not used, and you're going to make one big massive draw deck. Each player is going to get 9 of these stealth tokens, and then all of the other tokens that I have over here, they're just going to be spread out and separated. So we have these bat tokens, which you'll receive at the end of the round if you clear out the village. More stealth tokens, these mist form tokens, and then there's these link token pairs. So to start off, according to the rules, whoever had the latest bedtime is the one that starts off the game. First thing you do is you draw a card. So you draw a card, and if it is a villager, they're going to go immediately into the village. Anything else is going to go into your hand. So I drew Sukio, who is a lesser vampire. So that is going to go right into my hand. Now I have the option to play a card. So I can play one card, so I can play a card from my hand into my crypt, or I can play one of the villagers and attack my opponent's crypt. So let me explain a little bit more. So I can take a vampire or a thrall or my master vampire, who I happen to be Bella the Flayer. I can play any of them to my crypt face down if I want to. Or, let's see here, I have, that's another thrall and that's another vampire. If I had had a vampire hunter, I can use that to attack my opponent's crypt just like I would with one of my villagers. So let's see what I want to play. Let's just go ahead and let's play Antonio Armato. So he is going to go ahead, and I'm going to play him face down into my crypt. So when you play a card face down, it's considered in the shadows. And when a card is in the shadows, from your bank of 9 stealth tokens, you can place up to 2 on each card. And those tokens can be spent for other effects throughout the game. So now we go on to the direct attack phase. So if I had a face-up vampire, I can go ahead and go ahead and take out one of the villagers if I wanted to. If I had a thrall out, I could reveal that thrall or play that thrall face up, and the thrall gets to attack a villager only the turn it is revealed. Because I don't have any of those, there's nothing that I can do right now. Then I can do stealth attacks. So any of my creatures that have stealth tokens on them can do 1 attack. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of my stealth tokens, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attack Logger Paula. Poor Logger Paula goes into the discard pile. Now if I had attacked my opponent's crypt, this will get resolved. If I had any Vampire's Mist form, that doesn't happen. And then we check the village. If the village is depleted of villagers, then that ends that first round. So then it'll go on to my opponent's turn. So let's grab my opponent's cards here. I'm going to shift my stuff down here. So this is my crypt. So my opponent has Count Kristoff. They have Petro. They have Dr. Violet Vandersol, who is a vampire hunter. And they also have Wesley Deacon, who is totally not Wesley Snipes. And he is also a vampire hunter. So of course the first thing you do is you draw a card, and this card is a villager. This is a farmer, so they will go right into the village. And now they will play a card. So let's just say that they decide they're going to go ahead and they're going to play Dr. Violet Vandersol. And Dr. Violet Vandersol is going to go ahead and attack this one vampire that is in my crypt. So we'll go ahead and resolve all of the actions in order. So if there's any direct attacks, there's no direct attacks. They can't do any stealth attacks because they have no creatures in their own crypt to do that. And now we're going to go ahead and do a crypt attack. So to do a crypt attack, first they have selected an opponent already, and that vampire gets revealed. So you flip it over, and any stealth tokens that are on it can be redistributed to other In the Shadows vampires, or it can just go right back into your bank. So if I had any active thralls, they could go ahead and attack a villager. I do not have any at this time. And then any villagers with the combat skill, like this policeman here, they can go ahead and they can attack one thrall back. So I don't have any, of course. And then we go ahead and we start comparing these numbers here. So Dr. Violet Vandersol has a base number of 7. And then she gets backed up by the village, of course. So all of these have a number 1 except for the logger. So that is a 5 plus 7 is 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that would be 12 versus my 6, because it is the only person available to help me in my crypt. If I had other vampires, they do not help boost this number at all, because vampires are all out for themselves and they're not really there to help each other. So unfortunately, my vampire does get destroyed. So when that happens, you're going to draw one of the random mist form tokens and place it onto that vampire. This vampire is now in mist form. Once that is done, you go ahead and discard the attacker. So then at the end of my next turn, we will deal with this mist form token right there. Right now, there's nothing that can be done against this vampire, since they're in mist form and they're kind of hanging around in the village square. But that's all that happens right now. So now we'll go back on to my turn. I, of course, draw a card, and it is another villager, so it'll go right into the village. The village is getting pretty stacked there, and the game will continue. Now, let's just say we did everything that we want to do. Now we're going to deal with this mist form here. So to deal with this mist form, what you're going to do is your vampire is now going to jump out of mist form, and they're going to get a slight penalty. So Antonio Armato is 6 minus 2, so Antonio is only a 4. So then you go ahead and you look at the village, and the village is at, it was at a 5, but now with this farmer is now at a 6. So the village has more points than my lesser vampire, unfortunately. So my lesser vampire is destroyed by the village. So this will not go out of the game. They don't go into the discard pile. Once a vampire or master vampire is destroyed, they're out of the game for the remainder of that game. So you'll continue going back and forth until the village has been completely depleted of villagers. Once that happens, whoever did that, they're going to gain a bat token, of course. And then the first time it happens is they're going to draw a war event card. So, for example, of a war event, all other crypts must immediately discard a thrall, slave, or lesser vampire, which is pretty bad. And whoever emptied out the crypt will also get this bonus. And this one, you are going to receive or redistribute any 2 of your stealth tokens. Excuse me, I forgot what they were called for a second. So you can gain 2 or you can redistribute 2 however you want to. Once that has all been taken care of, then you refill the village. You refill the village with 6 villagers. And if you draw anything that's not a villager, it will go into the discard pile, but we did happen to draw all villagers there. And then you will continue on. The next time the village is emptied, then you have a choice between the War and Terror cards. The Terror cards are a little bit harder to deal with, but let's see here. The village now has a maximum limit of 6 villagers because of this curse. So, if there were these 6 out, we drew another villager like this, that villager would just happen to get destroyed, and they go right into the discard pile because of the curse, and no more can come out. At the end of the 3rd round, the village has been destroyed. Then you're going to go ahead and count up all of your cards that are in your crypt, count the points, and however more points you have, that is your score. The winning score is, of course, the winner of the game. Any cards in your hand do not count. And if you have any bat tokens left over, those are an additional point.
This program is part of the Pathological Nerdcasters Network. Find more at pncn.rocks, where all the geeks come to play.
So that's just a little bit about how to play Vampires and Villagers, The Curse of Kristoff. Now, this is a pretty fun game, especially around this time of year with Halloween right around the corner. This one was a lot of fun. One of the things I really like about that they included is you get, of course, your regular rule book, which every game should come with nowadays, but they also come with these 4 mini guides. They call them quick start guides, but they're kind of just an easy way to throw these out to all the players, so that way they don't have to be like, hey, can I look in the rule book? I need to understand what this card means or whatever. You can give them one of these and they have a quick reference to most of the stuff in the game. Sometimes you still have to reference the main book until you learn all the rules really, really well. But this is something that I really appreciate coming in a game like this. That has like little things, like each of the cards have special abilities that I didn't really go into. But this is a pretty fun game. So it's all about trying to figure out how to build up your crypt, how to advance the game by getting rid of the villagers in the middle, but also you got to knock down your opponent's crypts, because if they're starting to get too big, well, they're closer to winning, so you need to figure out how to knock them down. And you can use either the vampire hunters that you have in your own hand, or you can use some of the more heroic the villagers in the middle. So if this video has piqued your interest in Vampires and Villagers, The Curse of Kristoff, a link down below is for their Kickstarter, which is live right now as of the time of this video. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and help support Cloak and Meeple. My subscribe button is right down below, and my Patreon link is right over there. I have also added a digital tip jar if it's easier for you and you still want to donate, but you don't want to do a monthly donation. I'll have a link down below in the description for that tip jar, and you can do a one-time donation. It would be greatly appreciated. And I will see you next time.